podcast where today we are going to be doing our post-season, end of season mock draft. The Super Bowl just happened yesterday. As the time I'm recording this video, probably won't go out till Tuesday. Meant for it to go out Monday, but it probably will go out Tuesday. So this is going to be our first mock draft with the full order completely set, and this is sort of a kick off our off-season content that we will be doing here. But it always starts off with a mock draft. So the first pick, the Raiders, I think this is pretty obvious. I think they're going to go with Fernando Mendoza here. They need a quarterback. The Geno Smith experiment did not work. The Pete Carroll experiment did not work. They bring in Clint Kubiak from Seattle. They pair him alongside a young rookie in Fernando Mendoza. Now the question is, will another quarterback go in the first round without Dante Moore on the board? Because, outside of Mendoza, you got Ty Simpson, who is probably the only quarterback even worth taking in the first, if he is even worth taking in the first. So we'll have to see what we do later in the draft if a guy like Ty Simpson gets taken, but I think Mendoza is the clear first overall pick. Jets at 2. Can't go Dante Moore here. I think you just go next best player, which I think is Arvell Reese. I think it's going to be a common thing for Reese to be mocked here to the Jets at 2. They just need talent. If there's no quarterback worth taking at 2, which I don't think there is, I think you just go talent because they need a lot of help. I think their O-line is pretty good because, Fashanu had a pretty good rookie year. Their O-line, I think, is all right, but everything else could really use help. So why not just get the best player in Arvell Reese? Now, the Cardinals at 3 would normally have gone Arvell Reese here, but now he's off the board. The Cardinals are in a similar position. If they can't go quarterback, they just need something. They need anything. They could honestly go best player here as well. I was leaning towards one of the two edge rushers in Ruben Bain or David Bailey, but they did bring in Josh Sweat last year in free agency. I'm pretty sure he had a good year. You could go Caleb Downs. Will a safety go third overall? I think it could happen. But I kind of like Francis Mauigoa. Probably butchered that. The tackle out of Miami. I mean, they have Paris Johnson at left tackle, but you can put Mauigoa at right tackle alongside Paris Johnson. I don't really know how well Paris Johnson has played, if I'm being honest, but I think whoever your quarterback is, whether it's Kyler, whether it's somebody else, give them a cornerstone right tackle. So I'm going to go Mauigoa out of Miami. Titans at 3, or at 4, excuse me. I think they go one of the edge rushers, right? You could go receiver. Carnell Tate, I think, is a very realistic possibility here, or even Mekhi Lemon, just because outside of A.O. Manor, they don't really have any young pieces at receiver. I mean, Restrepo, I don't know, I'm not sure about Restrepo, how they like Restrepo, but A.O. Manor's the really only young piece at receiver, so they could go receiver, but I think you got your franchise guy at quarterback last year. I think you get your franchise cornerstone on defense, and I think you go Ruben Bain. I mean, they have guys like Jeffrey Simmons, but he's a bit older. Pair Ruben Bain alongside Jeffrey Simmons on that D-line because I think he's the next best player available, and I think that's what the Titans should go with if they don't go the receiver route. Giants at 5. Now, here's where we could see receiver taken. They could use tackle as well, but with Mauigoa off the board, it could maybe be a reach to go with a guy like Fano or Lomu or Caden Proctor at 5. So you probably don't go tackle there with Mauigoa off the board. Again, I think if you're going best player available, it's Caleb Downs. But I really like receiver here for the Giants in Carnell Tate. First of all, you can't go wrong with an Ohio State receiver. They normally work out pretty well. And you have Malik Nabers. Now, I think Malik Nabers is going to be fine. But you never fully know how a guy recovers from an injury, season-ending injury like that. But imagine he's fully healthy. You got him, you got Carnell Tate, you got Scadaboo, you got Jackson Dart, who you think is your franchise quarterback. And if you believe Jackson Dart is your franchise quarterback, you got to surround him with talent. I think their defense is capable enough to not need to be addressed here at number 5. And I think you should surround Dart with more talent. So I like Carnell Tate at 5. Browns at 6. I wish Carnell Tate was on the board for them. I really think they should go receiver or tackle. Again, do you want to take one of the remaining tackles at 6? I'm not sure. Their defense, I don't think, needs to be addressed at all. Because at least a team like the Giants could go corner. But the Browns' defense is really good. So I don't think you really need to go anywhere on the defense for the Browns. And plus, I think if they wanted to go defense, they could use their other first-round pick they had from Jacksonville to potentially go defense. But I think they lean offense here, and I'm going to give them one of the two receivers, Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson. I'm going to go Jordan Tyson. I mean, his brother plays on the Cavs, so that'd be cool to keep both Tysons in Cleveland. But Shedeur doesn't have anybody to throw to, and again, similar to Jackson Dart, you may not think Shedor's the franchise quarterback, but if he is, you want to get him guys to throw the ball to, and if he's not, you want to get the future franchise quarterback of the Browns receivers to throw to, because you have Harold Fannin, you have the two backs you drafted last year of Sampson and Judkins. They don't really have a lot at receiver, so I think you go with receiver, and that's between Lemon or Tyson. I'm going to go Tyson here at 6. Commanders at 7. I think you just go with one of the best players available on defense. I mean, look at their needs here. It's edge, linebacker, DB. That's basically the entire defense. So, best player on defense, I think, is Caleb Downs. I think that makes perfect sense for the Commanders at 7. Saints at 8. Another team that could use just one of the best players. I think it's between Bailey, Love, and Styles. I know those are literally the top 3 players, but Jeremiah Love, it's not necessarily the biggest need for the Saints because, yes, Alvin Kamara is old, but you still have Alvin Kamara and you have Devin Neal, who I think could be I think he could have a role in New Orleans. And you also have Kendre Miller, too. So I don't think necessarily Jeremiah Love's a guy the Saints need to take at 8. I think they need to address the D-line because you have an aging Cam Jordan at pass rusher. And I think a guy like David Bailey could be perfect because you have Chase Young and you have Cam Jordan. You need that next guy. I think David Bailey works out perfectly. And the Chiefs at 9, I think this is where we finally see Jeremiah Love go. I know the Chiefs could use O-line. Their O-line wasn't very good. But I think they more need to prioritize. I just think they just need playmakers on offense. Kareem Hunt's an okay rotational running back to get you like a 4 yards on a 4th and 1 or score from the goal line. But I'm not too high on Pacheco. They don't have a ton of at receiver. Travis Kelce's getting old. They need just playmakers around Mahomes for when he comes back. And why not get the best running back in the class at 9th overall? They can move on from Pacheco. Maybe just keep Kareem Hunt as the backup because I don't mind him as your second best running back. But they just need someone to help out Mahomes for when he comes back because he just felt overtaxed on that offense last year. Bengals at 10, I think you just go defense. You go one of the best defensive players. That's Sonny Styles, Mansour Delane / McCoy, or Peter Woods. We don't know if they're going to keep Trey Hendrickson. I'd be surprised if Trey Hendrickson is on the Bengals next year. So maybe you want to go edge rusher. But do you want to take Cassius Howell or Cedric Folk here at 10? Who knows? I would love David Bailey to them at 10, but I really like Peter Woods here as just one of the better defensive players available. I think it's a good fit. They really need somebody on that interior of the D-line just to stop the run. And I think that can start with Peter Woods. Dolphins at 11, I think I think they have to go corner. You could go receiver and go Mekhi Lemon because who knows what's going to happen with Tyreek Hill. And outside of Tyreek Hill, it's really just Jalen Waddle. So I wouldn't mind a Mekhi Lemon here. But I think they need cornerback really bad. Like, they don't really have anything at corner. And if you're picking between Delane and McCoy, I think you could go either one. I'm going to go Mansour Delane as the number one corner. I think number one corner. Yeah, number one corner off the board to Miami. If you watched my last mock draft that I did at the end of the regular season, a lot of picks are going to be similar because the draft order was basically the same through the first 29 picks. So I don't know how much is going to change outside the top of the board because of no Dante Moore. But Cowboys at 12, speaking of, we're going to have the same pick as I did last time. We're going to go Sony Styles. They don't have a lot at linebacker. I think they need defense. Obviously, that's no surprise. They could go Jeremiah Love if he falls to them at 12. But their defense was. I think the Cowboys will be fine if they don't draft Jeremiah Love. They can either bring Javonte Williams back or just sign another running back. Their offense was really good last year. It's the defense. And I like Sony Styles as a guy that can just sort of help out the defense as a whole at that linebacker position. Because they don't really, you have Overshown, but he's had some injuries over the past. So I think getting a guy next to him, even if he's healthy, is great. Rams at 13, just like how the Dolphins needed corner, the Rams need corner so bad, in my opinion. They could go tackle, could go quarterback, but again, the Rams have their own pick at 29, where I think a quarterback or tackle could very well be available for them. I think you go corner with guys like McCoy and Avion Terrell on the board. I think you have to go corner. I think that's clearly their biggest weakness on defense. I mean, even the website agrees. And if it's between Terrell and McCoy, I'm going to go McCoy. I feel like they need more size at corner. Now, McCoy's not a big guy, but he's bigger than Avion Terrell, so I think they go McCoy at 13. He's not a big guy for a corner. He's still 6 feet, but Ravens at 14, I think they could use a receiver and go Makai Lemon, or they get one of the two pass rushers because they have their best pass rusher is Kyle Van Noy, who's getting up there in age. I think they could utilize some youth at that pass rush. I know they got Mike Green, who showed some flashes last year, but you need more than Mike Green in terms of future edge rushers. So I'm gonna go with Howell or Folk. I don't think it really matters too much. They're very similar in the ranking. I'll just go Keldrick Folk out of Auburn to the Ravens at 14. Bucks at 15. Says they need tight end. They could go with Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. They could go guard and go with Ione out of Penn State. They need a linebacker. I mean, do you want to go CJ Allen at 15? Probably not. Corner, could go Avion Terrell, but I think edge rusher is the biggest need. You have Yaya Diaby on one end, but your other edge rusher was Hassan Reddick last year, similar to the Ravens, up there in age. Get some youth in that pass rush room. I like Cassius Howell to the Bucks at 15. Jets at 16. Now, last mock draft, I had them take Dante Moore at 2, so I really liked giving him a rookie receiver in Makai Lemon with their 16th pick. But they don't have Dante Moore anymore. And instead, they went with Arvell Reese at 2. I still like Makai Lemon because outside of Garrett Wilson, there's nothing at that receiver position. Literally nothing. Their O-line's pretty solid, as we mentioned earlier with their second overall pick. You could go interior D-line after trading away Quinn Williams, and you could go with a guy like Caleb Banks. I think it's between Lemon and Banks. Works out for the Jets that their top two needs are the top two players available. I think you can never pass up on the opportunity to get an elite receiver high in the draft. So I'm going to go Makai Lemon to the Jets at 16. There's been some decent USC receivers. He had Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London. I'm pretty sure both of them came from USC. So maybe we're starting another receiver U out of USC with Makai Lemon. Next is the Lions at 17. It says here they need tackle, but they have Penei Sewell on one end, which I'm pretty sure is right tackle. Pretty sure Penei Sewell plays right tackle. Fano plays right tackle, and Caleb Lomu plays right tackle. He plays left tackle. So if they wanted to go with the tackle, they'd have to go with Proctor or Lomu to play left tackle, because obviously Penei Sewell is one of the best players in football at your right tackle, so you don't need a right tackle. So I don't think they go Fanu. I think they need defense, because when healthy, their defense isn't actually horrible, but it hasn't been healthy the last 2 years. And I think even with a fully healthy defense, I think they could use help at corner. So I'm going to go Avion Terrell out of Clemson to Detroit. You got guys like Terry and Arnold, and I know Brian Branch plays nickel sometimes, I'm pretty sure. But I think you need. I think if they're fully healthy, they need pass rush or corner. So I'm gonna go with corner because I mean you could go T.J. Parker, but I'd rather go corner for Detroit. Minnesota at 18. I remember last time that Minnesota was kind of in a tough spot because ideally they want corner. That's what they need the most. But with the Lions taking Avion Terrell, the next best corner is Brandon Cisse out of South Carolina, or even guys like Colton Hood out of Tennessee or Keith Abney out of ASU. And I don't think any of those guys are worth taking at 18. So I think if you're Minnesota here, you just go with one of the better players available. I don't think you're going to go tackle. You probably don't need a receiver. I don't think you need a guard. I think it's between one of the D linemen. I think Caleb Banks is the clear best D lineman available out of him and McDonald. So I'm gonna go Caleb Banks. This happened last mock draft with the Vikings that they kind of didn't really have a clear position of need that was available. So I just went with one of the better players. And they have good players at the interior D line, but they're kind of older. So similar to teams like Tampa Bay and Baltimore, even though they have pieces, it's good to get young pieces. So I think Caleb Banks makes the most sense to Minnesota. Panthers at 19, they could go tackle because of the Ike Ekwonu injury, but I don't know if they want to spend a first round pick on a tackle. I feel like if they were to get this, because there's a chance Ike comes back for the next season or late in the first season and is fine, and you just wasted a first round pick. I feel like they would want to go the free agency route to be more of a bridge guy at that position. So I don't think they go tackle here. They could go receiver, but I don't think they go back to that. Would be 3 straight years taking a receiver in the first. I don't think they do that. D line, I don't think they need a guy like Kaden McDonald because they have Derek Brown. Linebacker, I think, is a big need for them, but without Sony Styles on the board, you could go CJ Allen. But I'm actually going to go with Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, number one tight end. The Panthers, I think, they don't necessarily need receiver, at least young receivers, because you have the two guys there. I think they should just surround Bryce Young with as many weapons as possible, and they're missing that elite tight end. So I'm going to go with Sadiq to the Panthers. Cowboys are back on the clock at 20. They took Sony Styles at 12, but now they have Green Bay's first at 20. They don't need linebacker anymore. I still think they go defense. They're not going to take a running back here at 20. There's no safeties worth taking. You could go with, there's probably not a corner worth taking. I think you go pass rush to replace Micah Parsons is really difficult to do, but you need to fill the hole that Micah left. I like TJ Parker out of Clemson, just in general. So I think the Cowboys getting him at 20 on the D line and then getting Sony Styles at 12 at the linebacker room, I think would be a great draft for Dallas. Pittsburgh at 21, they could go tackle route, Proctor, Fano, but I think they need receiver. They could go QB and get Ty Simpson, to be honest. But I feel like McCarthy's just going to bring Aaron Rodgers back and not draft a quarterback. And they might draft a quarterback in next year's draft. I mean, they're going to, because they don't have Mike Tomlin anymore, so they're not guaranteed to go 9-8. So they might actually get like 7 wins and actually are in position to get a quarterback next year. Who knows? And there's also guys you can draft in the second round. I think they go receiver because outside of DK Metcalf, they don't really have anything. Calvin Austin, I like Calvin Austin. I feel like he's more of a specialist. Like he's your deep threat guy. They don't just have really good overall receivers outside of DK Metcalf. So I'm going to go Denzel Boston to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need receivers. You saw when Metcalf was suspended for the last 2 games of the season, they had nothing. They ran like 3 straight fade jump balls to, I think it was Marquez Valdes-Scantling against the Browns on Denzel Ward because they didn't have anybody to throw the ball to. So I like Denzel Boston to Pittsburgh. Chargers at 22. I think this is a match made in heaven for the Chargers, getting Ione at 22. They need O-line so bad because their tackles are really good. With Alton Slater, they were just injured. But if those guys are healthy, you don't need to address tackle at all. But even when healthy, they desperately need to address that interior of the O-line. And Ione is the only guard that is likely going to go in the first round as of now. So why not get him at 22? I think it's a perfect fit for the Chargers, and I would really love if he falls to them at 22. Philly at 23, I'm going to go with a guy not on their team needs. I'm going to go with Spencer Fanu out of Utah because they have um they have Jordan Mailata at I think left tackle, but Lane Johnson is getting up there in age, and I don't even know how many years Lane Johnson has left. He was injured this season all the time. There are so many times where I just saw that Lane Johnson was questionable. Lane Johnson might not play. And the change in production from the Philly offense when Lane Johnson was out was drastic. And we don't know how long Lane Johnson has left in the NFL. I think they need to start finding his replacement because you saw the impact of him being out. And Spencer Fano is the best right tackle available. I think he can be that Lane Johnson replacement, and then you can have him and Mailata going forward. So although it doesn't say they need a tackle because you have Lane Johnson, who's really good, but who knows how much left you have of Lane Johnson. So I think getting a right tackle for the future is a smart move for Philly. Browns at 24, they got their receiver in Jordan Tyson. I they I think they have their quarterback, at least for now, in Shedeur Sanders. I don't think they go Ty Simpson here at 24. Again, I think they need to go on the offensive side of things. They don't need tight end. They don't need running back. I don't think you go two receivers. So I think you're left with the O-line. You're not going to take a guard here at 24. I know the best guard available. It's Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon. You're not going to go with him at 24. So I think you go tackle. It's Lomu or Proctor. I'm going to go Caden Proctor out of Alabama to the Browns at 24. You add to your O-line. You add to your receiver room. You have your tight ends. You have your running backs. That is the perfect draft to surround Shedeur if he's your guy, or again, surround whoever becomes your guy if it's not Shedeur, as I said when I had them taking Tyson at 6. Bears at 25. I think they need to address defense. The website agrees. You got linebacker C.J. Allen out of Georgia. You even have Anthony Hill out of Texas, and then you have the two D linemen, Caden McDonald out of Ohio State and Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. I mean, Caden McDonald, even according to the website, is the clear best player available, especially compared to him and Hunter. The average draft position is almost over 20 difference. So I'm gonna go Caden McDonald. Similar to I've said this before, but they have a lot of they brought in Grady Jarrett and they have other guys, but they need some youth because you have Montez Sweat, you have Austin Booker. I think that's a fine edge rush room. I think they need to help that interior with a guy like Caden McDonald because their linebackers are good, their secondary is good. I think their D line is the biggest weakness. Interior D line is the biggest weakness of that defense. Bills at 26. Last time I had them taking Romello Height to get some pass rush help because, guys like Joey Bosa are really old, but Romello Height's fallen down the board according to ADP a little bit. So I actually switched it up here. And I'm going to go Casey Concepcion, however you say his name, out of Texas A&M. Super fast. They need help at receiver. You have Josh Palmer, Keon Coleman, who we still don't know if they like Keon Coleman, and Khalil Shakir. You need some speed at that receiver position. And they just need some athleticism and speed and guys that can just space the field, especially because they have two really good tight ends. You want them to have room to work over the middle of the field, so why not get a guy like Casey Concepcion to just run really far and really fast for Josh Allen to throw the ball to really far. So I like Casey Concepcion a lot to the Bills. The Niners at 27, if you're not going to go with Casey Concepcion or receiver in general, I really like them getting a receiver. But, I mean, you could go Chris Bell, but I think there's guys the Niners could use more than Chris Bell here at 27. So if you're not going receiver, I think you focus on defense for San Fran. I think they could use help at the pass rush. And I think the best pass rusher available is Akeem Mesidor out of Miami. You get Ruben Bain's pass rush teammate from Miami in Mesidor. because you got Nick Bosa, but outside of Nick Bosa, you don't really have a lot. You obviously drafted Michael Williams, but I'm still not sure about how that's gone. So why not just add talent to the pass rush room? And with a guy like Akeem Mesidor, they could go with a D lineman like Lee Hunter. You don't need linebackers. There's no guards worth taking. I mean, if they're not going to go with Mesidor, maybe you go with Brandon Sis just to add to the corner room, but I think Mesidor is a good fit in San Fran. Houston at 28, we all want them to go O line, and I know there's guys like Lomu and Freeling available at tackle, but I feel like the website says they need interior, and I agree. I feel like if they're going to address the O line, they need to go to the interior of the O line, and those guys just aren't worth taking here at 28. So, as crazy as it is, because their defense is literally one of the best in the league, I'm going to have them go defense here. Their linebackers are great with Toto and Aziz Shair. You obviously don't need any pass rush help with Hunter and Will Anderson. Your secondary is one of the best in the league. If they had to choose a weakness of this Houston defense, it's probably the interior of their D line. So I'm going to go Christian Miller out of Georgia to Houston because there's no offensive lineman interior wise worth taking. It says they need a running back. You're not going to take any of the running backs here at 28. I think the next best thing of need would be interior D line. Rams at 29, they took a corner in Jerron McCoy. It says here they need tackle. You do got Lomu and Freeling here. But I'm actually going to have the Rams go with Ty Simpson. Now, I'm pretty sure Stafford's going to play another year. But how many years after this next year are we going to see of Stafford? I could very easily see him retire after this season. And I feel like it's smart to get a quarterback in now while Stafford's still in the locker room and on the team because you can't find many better mentors currently in the NFL than Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. Like that, you're putting Ty Simpson in the perfect position to learn from guys like Stafford and give him a year to learn Sean McVay's offense because he's one of the best play callers in the league, but I imagine he's got a very complicated playbook and offense to learn. Why not give Ty Simpson a whole year? He doesn't have to worry because Stafford's there. He gets to also learn from Stafford, see Stafford, because they could go quarterback next year, right? Because you're going to have Stafford this year, and then you could go with quarterback next year. But then as Stafford retires, he doesn't get to sit behind a guy like Matt Stafford. He might have to play right away. And I don't think you want that out of any quarterback late in the draft, which if they were to take a quarterback next year, I think it would be late because they are a really good team. This is the perfect opportunity to get a quarterback now. You didn't have to worry about, and I also like quarterback for them because they took Jermon McCoy, because they have another first. So it's not like they kind of wasted their first round pick on a guy that's not going to play. They still had a first round pick spent to help their team now while also getting their future quarterback in Ty Simpson. Broncos at 30, another team that doesn't have a ton of needs that match who's available. But I do think they need linebacker, and CJ Allen I think is a perfect fit because you have Dre Greenlaw, but he's slightly older. He's been injured. You have Singleton. I think this is Alex Singleton. He's up there in age. You have good linebackers, but old linebackers. Why not get some youth with CJ Allen out of Georgia? And you can never go wrong with drafting a defensive player out of Georgia. And again, I don't think they go tackle. There's no tight ends worth taking, no running backs worth taking. They could go receiver and go with Chris Bell, but I like a guy like CJ Allen more than Chris Bell. Patriots at 31. Not a lot here. Again, similar. Not a lot of these guys they would take, I think. They could use corner. I know you got Gonzalez there, but I feel like you could always use corner, so they could go Sis or Abney. They could go with a guy like Lee Hunter on that interior D-line, but you did spend a bunch of big money on the D-line. I like a guy like Monroe Freeling. Now, I know they have Will Campbell, and I know Will Campbell had his struggles in the postseason, but granted, he went against Seattle, one of the best defenses in the league. He went against Houston, one of the best defenses in the league. He went against Denver, one of the best defenses in the league, and he went against the Chargers, which aren't a bad defense at all. So it wasn't an easy postseason for Will Campbell when it. I mean, he had to go against Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Nick Bonito, the Seahawks D line as a whole, Khalil Mack, Tui Tuipulotu. It was a very tough postseason for Will Campbell, but I still think he's the guy there. But you need somebody at right tackle. And I know Freeling primary played left tackle, but as you can see, he has some experience playing right tackle. I don't really see Lomu has no experience. I mean, he's played what, like 30 snaps. I think Freeling can be, and you might not even have to play him right away as he gets back used to playing right tackle after coming off a full season of not playing left tackle. But I just think with who's available, he makes the most sense for New England at 31. And then the Seahawks are at the last pick at 32. Seems like the biggest need here is interior offensive line, but as I keep saying, you could go Pregnon here at 32, but I don't think so. I think with who's available, I don't think they need Lee Hunter. Their interior D line is potentially one of the best in football. I don't think you need Caleb Lomu because he plays left tackle and you have Charles Cross. They could go corner because outside of Witherspoon, Woolen's been up. I like Tariq Woolen. He has been up and down at times. And again, you can never go wrong with just adding corner help. I don't think you need safety. Your safeties are really good. You could go receiver because outside of JSN, Cooper Kupp's old, and Rashid Shaheed as a receiver is just solid. Like he's not like one of the best receivers in the league. His biggest value is in the return game. But I think with who's available, I think corner makes the most sense for them. Because we don't know fully how they believe in Tariq Woolen, and even if Tariq Woolen's really good, I still think you could use more help next to him and Witherspoon. So I like Sis there out of South Carolina. Quickly zoom out here so you can see the full mock draft. This is our completed end of season first round mock draft. Let me know some of your opinions on this mock draft, what you agree with, disagree with, and who do you want your team to draft now that we are fully into the off season. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.